Hello, it's Brian checking in. Brian Barrett.
Jim and Tammy Booth are there.
Hey.
It was big screen. I don't know what they did, but just come on. It was just a big screen. There's Jim Booth and Tammy Booth. Full screen. Let's escape to double click.
Brian Barrett here.
Hey, Brian, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, it is 6:00 p.m. This is the regular business meeting of the Smithfield Township Board of Supervisors. Please join me in reciting the pledge. Thank you very much. Members present include myself, Chairman Jacob Bryan, Vice Chair Robert Lovenheim, Supervisor Brian Barrett via Zoom, Township Manager Julia Helica, Engineer John Pressler, and Solicitor Ron Harris. Okay, in terms of announcements, the budget meetings are October 18th, November 1st, and I think we're going to look at rescheduling that one on the 15th, but they're all going to be at 10 a.m. The 10-4, the October 4th date is not going to work, so we will let you all know about the schedule and the change. Leaf pickup begins October 23rd and runs until November 24th. Okay. We have two sets of minutes. One is from September 13th, 2023, the regular business meeting, and the second is from July 17th, 2023. There's a joint work session with Middle Smithfield and Smithfield with regard to EMS service. Do I hear a motion on sets of minutes?
I'll make a motion on September 13th. Minutes. I wasn't at the early meeting.
Okay, motion by Mr. Lovenheim on September 13th. I'll
I'll second that motion. September 13th, Jacob.
Okay, second by Mr. Barrett. Question? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, July 17th, Middle Smithfield. I move that we approve those sets of minutes. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
By myself, second, Mr. Barrett. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 We do not have any public hearings or plans to act on this evening, so I'll proceed with the solicitor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There
What has occurred since the last meeting is simply that we have received a new application for conditional use by an applicant by the name of Healthy Minds for a conditional use hearing on Cherry Valley Road, and that hearing will be scheduled on November 8th, I believe. Let me just check my calendar here to be safe.
Yes, November 8th.
November 8th, and it will be reviewed by the planning commission on the second Thursday of October, which is the regular planning commission meeting date. So that will be reviewed on October 12th. And I'm also working on the land development improvements agreement for the PDR Shawnee Valley for that for the 2005 plan. And there have been a number of additional agreements and documents coming in for the airstrip road condemnation and other documents with respect to and for the water line installation and the gas line installation for the airstrip road, Vigon, Black Buffalo, whatever project we're calling it these days. So those I have to get to, but they've stacked up on me. And other than that, other than the normal emails, phone calls, that's what's been going on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I have to report this evening is that on Tuesday of this week, we had a meeting with the PennDOT coordinator regarding the improvements to the Green Mountain Drive Bridge. We brought them up to date as to where we stand with our work. We did do survey work out there. We did research out there to determine whether we're going to need additional right of way. It turns out that we will need additional right of way to repair the wing walls because they fall outside of the 33 foot right of way that the township we believe has. It's I couldn't find any information where that right of way has been vacated, although the road no longer is able to be built like it used to. But we will need additional right of way for wing walls, and so we are in the process right now of preparing plans so that the township can talk to property owners and acquire that. And that's all that I have to report this evening.
Awesome, thank you very much, John. Under new business, first order of consideration is the consent agenda, which includes a PPL temporary workspace agreement. Resolution 531 for the PennDOT information agreement, approving the email migration to Microsoft for security purposes, and change order number 1 for Cobalt Construction at Marshall's Falls Park. Really, if you want to quickly explain the changes, and that's to a reduction of 82,000.
It does. Once we have the approved plan in order, after the engineers actually went in and tested the rock for the pilings to the boardwalk, they determined that the ground was unsuitable, so we ended up having to shorten the boardwalk and lengthen the Pace Trail, which resulted in a reduction of approximately $82,000 from the board.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Levinheim. Any questions?
I'll second it, yep.
Second, Mr. Barrett, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next we have 2 quotes for tree removal on Greenbrier Road. And we have our Director of Public Works for class here, Fritz. You want to come on up to the podium and talk about the next 2 items, and then we can get you out. Thank you.
The tree removal,
Yes, sir. Let's start there.
there is 4 trees on Greenbrier just above Stonehouse Road that are out about that far off the road. We've widened Greenbrier and the bank slopes and these trees should be removed. So we have a nice shoulder. Then there's another tree right down by the Stroud Township line. It's an oak tree. And my road, I'm trying to maintain a 20-foot road, 10 foot, 10 foot. And I'm that far into the tree at 10 foot per lane. I think it's a danger. So I talked to them about taking, I'm gonna take the stumps on the cluster of 4 trees. It's going to bank, and then the oak tree, they're gonna mill grind the stump down subsurface. So I can put snow over it and pave over it in the spring.
Great.
So we had a couple of bids.
Yes, I turned them in. We have 2 bids.
We have 2 bids. One of them is from Joe Henry Tree Service for $2,000. The second one is from Dunkelberger Tree Service for $2,100.
And I didn't realize that there are, I looked at it here, there are 2 other stumps that have been taken down, but they're encroaching on the road, so either or, I'm gonna have them, if you guys let me, mill those stumps down, so we do the job right.
Sure. Any preferences or see any reason to pick one over the other? Or should we?
That's up to you guys.
Because there was a local guy and he's a lower bidder, so I think we ought to go with him.
I'm going with that. You're comfortable with Widmer?
I've never used Widmer, I have no reason not to use him, so, you know, they were very competitive.
All right, so do I hear a motion on that?
I'll make a motion, so truly, bid a little bit and they're usually very.
Motion by Mr. Lowenheim, second by myself. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry,
Aye.
Mr. Chair,
That was for Widmer.
Whitmer.
Thank you. And then next is the EM cuts, after proposal for the team trust, and we already ordered.
I'm looking to upfit the 2 F600s that were ordered. You can't return
Right.
them. They're gonna do the job. I think they'll be more efficient and do a better job if we can outfit them. The plows that are on them, well, back up first, they don't have any toolboxes. So generally we carry a saw, gas, oil, chain, normal day. I don't have anywhere to put it. You put it in the bed, you've got stuff in the bed, you put it in the cab, if there's an accident, guy can get hurt,
Sure.
or you're doing it in the cab on a brand new truck. So that's why I said I asked about the toolboxes, and they were ordered with a 10-foot Western plow on them. Most of our lanes, a lot of our lanes are 11 foot. If it's a 10-foot lane, you still have a shoulder, you need to back it up.
Right.
Our single axle trucks are 11-foot plows. I'm looking to upfit 2, it's called a Western XL wide out. Widens out on the fly and goes out to 11 foot. I've spoke to neighboring township, swears by it. They're great. A little truck, but it does the work of a big truck, you know, up to maybe a 6-inch storm. It is gonna cost us a little more, but I'm get the most out of these trucks. Because that's what I have.
What if we just narrow the road?
Well, you're gonna have to deal with residents on that.
Awesome.
Like I said, I mean, if I was ordering, I would order different trucks.
Sure.
But it is, you know, it is what it is to order, and I can make them work. But I think this is the best decision to make.
Do we, Chris, do we have a quote on that? For that work?
Yes,
Is that for both trucks?
the quote is for 1 truck. We have 2 coming.
All right, so it'd be, instead of 5, it'd be 10,000?
Yes,
Sure.
Why don't you just do 1 truck?
Wow. I think most makes the most sense to go with it too for the safety, so I appreciate all you.
right, because I'm gonna, and the trucks are gonna be working, if, you know, with snow and that, and
Sure.
and if we get, you know, we get snow, I mean, that's extra truck all the way around for the trucks, which is man hours, which is abuse on the trucks.
Right.
They're going down, you know.
Right, because once we file a lane, then you need to put a little shoulder on, you know, the water can get off the road, and, you know, I mean, if we get a 2-foot, 3-foot storm, well, we're all gonna be working hard, but, you know, it's just a matter of trying to make the most out of what I have.
All right,
Brian, it sounds like a good investment.
do I hear a motion on the quotes?
What do you want to say?
To approve it.
Is to increase the,
No, just,
replace the tank with 11 foot and the fuel lot.
doesn't have to ask us to give a quote, it's all.
It's approved the outfit cost for 2 trucks.
Okay,
Will be,
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr.
May I ask the cost for the 2 trucks?
No, not twenty.
Well, I have one. I don't have.
That's $10,480.60.
10,000.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should, as I said earlier, do one now, this season. We'll get through it, we always have with them, and then place the second cost on this new budget that we're going to be working on. That's my, not a motion. Yeah, it is a motion. I'll make that motion.
Well, Robert, before you then, Robert already made it, the motion to approve the quotes, so we have to consider one before the other, so.
Given our 2023 budget, can we afford to do both of them?
It's the capital improvements. Lucas recommended it.
yeah, Lucas did recommend it, and I also think it's important to consider that if we don't do the outfit, you'll be paying for the smaller 10-foot western plow. And then we're going to have to buy a larger 11-foot XL western plow.
Next
So
year.
this is the
Wire
cost.
harness.
Along with the wiring harness and everything else, this is the cost for us to go from one to the other, because the 10-foot one is already baked into the cost. We can find out how much it is to do that, but it's gonna be way more expensive, and I think, like Chris has said, with additional time to clear the roads, additional wear and tear on the trucks, excuse me. I do believe that this is a good direction for the township to take.
All right, Brian, I think, my motion stands, but I think we're, from what Julia said, we're better off, from a cost standpoint to do it both at once. And I also like to add that with our new roadmaster, I think we owe him a measure of support for what he sees as the best way to proceed here.
All right, well, I have to go in the order that the motions were made, so Mr. Loveenheim motion to approve the outfitting for the 2 trucks. I seconded the comment. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks, Brian.
And you want to offer anything on the rental or purchase of a mid-mount boom mower for October?
What I'm up against is the mower that I have is it's a 6-foot sickle bar mower, and then it has a boom mower that goes on the back of it. The boom mower was made overseas. I started in the middle of July, sat in a corner with the hydraulic motor to drive it, missing. Mr. McCormick told me it was being rebuilt. Here we are, middle of the end of September, they can't get it. And I reached to other people, and the last answer I got this morning was it's coming from Europe. It's a little over $4,000. And it's gonna be I think he said 3 months till it gets here, and that's come by boat. So what we're up against is I have some complaints on River Road and other roads where the roads are growing close.
Right.
I can only mow the ground. So what I approached them, Julia with was renting a mid-mount boom mower originally for a month. That I can do my complaints and I can start opening some of the roads up. I got the parts for the sickle bar mower and started mowing with that a week and a half ago. Cause I was waiting on parts for that.
Right.
I got guys out when I can. I only have 6 men on my crew. When I can, I got 2 guys out because I need to follow them. It's a small tractor. Mowing. I'm looking now, I think we will be okay if I can rent one for a month, or I mean, sorry, for a week. To do my complaints and then work on an area and get the most out of it for that week. And then we can revisit next year as to what we're gonna do if I get this other mower working or if we upgrade. It's hard because I think it's $3,200 or $3,400 for a week. But for a month, it was $7,800. It's cheaper for a month, but I understand budget's a budget. So that's why I figured. You can get it for a week. I can compare River Road and any other complaints that I had.
Critical for emergency response over there.
Right, that's where I'm at with it, and I figured, this is the route to go, rent it, because I don't have it.
Okay, it sounds good to me. How about I'll make a motion that we rent the mower for 1 week this year, this season, at a price of whatever you said, Chris.
Okay, motion by Mr. Barrett, second by Mr. Levenheim. Your comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you, guys.
thank
Have a
you.
good night.
You too. Okay, next is the consideration of resolution number 532, designating signers for the DCED LSA grant. This is with regard to the application for $250,217 on behalf of Marshall Street Volunteer Fire Company for cancer risk reduction and security. So this designates Robert and Julia as signers. Do I hear a motion on resolution 532?
If I'm gonna be a senator, can I make the resolution? Make the motion.
Well, yeah, I said I'll entertain.
All right.
Motion by Mrs. Levenheim. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Barrett. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Designated signer.
Because it's a resolution related to the LSA. Yeah.
To.
You still got it.
Yeah, in the interest of being doubly safe.
Okay,
Yeah.
in the interest of being doubly safe, I'll recuse myself, but there's no material financial gain from applying for a grant for a volunteer firefighter to be. Okay, passes 2-0.
Right.
The discussion on noise and nuisance ordinance, we've received a lot of information over the last several months, really the last year. We've been compiling some information from our neighboring municipalities. So the premise of this discussion is basically to take in what we're hearing and discuss Mr. Levenheim's concept here that he wrote out for us. And if you'd like to comment on the discussion once we get through going through this, make sure you come up to the podium just so we can hear you and get your information for the minutes and whatnot. Robert.
I can find it in this file.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Those problems, if anybody would like to read what they are referencing, you have additional copies of their minutes.
I think.
A motion was made, and I second it.
No, I mean, this is just the discussion. You're all set on the resolution. We're already good with that.
Okay.
We have some copies of the draft proposal up here, which I prepared just so that we had something to talk about. And I think it covers some of the, or all the areas that we get complaints on. And it's probably one of the things we did something. One of the comments by Attorney Thursday was that the number one area by outdoor music does have to have a some measure on it, a decibel level. I've been resisting that, but apparently the recent experience of Pocono Township is that they don't stand up in court unless we have some decibel about one. I think perhaps the one to go and then correct me if I'm wrong, as the same as the state liquor board, which is what, 75 decibels.
Well, I think 75 is very, I think it's too.
It's at the property, right?
Yes,
That seems reasonable.
well, I'm saying, I think it's too high, and 75 is loud. I mean, if you're living next door to a venue and it's 74 decibels, which they cannot be cited for 74, it has to be
Well,
75
remember-
or loud.
That's only from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. It doesn't go beyond that, whether it's speech or whether it's music, can't be amplified.
Well, let's continue going to this, then we can get feedback.
Okay. Anyway, so that's number one on here, amplified music. We're suggesting that it be banned from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. Amplified music or speech if somebody's making speeches, including politicians. Excess engine and motor noise periods more than 2 hours at all times. I think we all agree with the fact that something has to be done about that. And it seems like 2 hours is a reasonable period for anything going on. If it's longer than that, we can cite somebody to stop it. Now, that's another thing about this. We're planning to put this under chapter 10, which is the nuisance ordinance, rather than the zoning ordinance. Right now, anything that has to do with noise is in our zoning ordinance. It makes it very difficult to enforce, because under the zoning ordinance, if the zoning officer cites somebody, they have 30 days to appeal to the zoning hearing. Then after the hearing board makes a decision, let's say, and reject their appeal, then I think it's another 30 days until the zoning officer can take them to the court and try to find them. But the courts are so jammed up that that can take 6 or 8 months or more. So if we put it under chapter 10 or any other chapter rather than zoning, we can immediately just find somebody. We don't have to go through that procedure.
And it makes sense because it will differ, you know, not both the zones.
Correct. Number 3, construction. I know where I live, which is a PRD, there's already a ban on construction, which is pretty much limited in these hours. There is no construction 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And nothing on Sundays. And also, if there's construction in another zone, like the ED zone nearby, that is causing problems for people in a residential neighborhood, that construction has to go under the same guidelines. Car alarms, I think we're all agreeing on that. There doesn't seem to be as much problem as there used to be. But I think saying it doesn't show up in 5 minutes, we get it's pretty reasonable. Most of those alarms, I think, are set to shut off in that time anyway. And here, again, how do you complain? Well, you complain to the code zoning enforcement officer. And either he should witness it or one of the officials in the township, or take the word of a citizen who was making a complaint. Somebody was noise manner showed me a video they made. The noise was quite apparent and it was quite loud in their property. We're looking for a way that is easy to make a complaint about this, nothing. So I think that works. That's all I have to say. Maybe somebody has some comments on this.
I've actually got something to say, before we jump in any further. It is so wonderful to see so many different faces, but I am sure a lot of you are here because of the issues that are occurring on Mountain Manor. I wanted to let you know, so he has put in the enforcement notice to the property, so this time what happens is the property owner has 30 days to either comply with the enforcement action that the zoning officer has issued, or say, I believe this is incorrect, and appeal to the zoning hearing board. If they appeal to the zoning hearing board, it's one process. And if they simply refuse to comply, that's when we move towards the action that Robert mentioned with the enforcement in the MPJ's office. So I do want you to know that we are all aware zoning officer has spoken with the property owner, and we are following our legal obligations in our funds to get this resolved as fast as we can. The noise that y'all are dealing with is unbearable, and it's very unfair to you.
But as I said, that's a cumbersome process. And this is something where we can do something immediately. Because it would be outside of the zone.
He would still file a citation with the DJ.
Yes.
He or she would still be able to come to that hearing and contest it. And if they only decision, appeal it, so you're still, if someone in that process, just not as that.
So we can issue a citation and apply in a meeting.
Yes.
Well,
My name is Bob Kimball, and one other thing about Susan, we could issue a fine, I believe, for every instance of this.
Every day is a continuing violation, right? It could be.
And could increase the fines.
Now, good evening, my name is Bob Kidwell, I'm an attorney in Stroudsburg. I represent Mountain Vista Campground, which you may be aware has been coping with this unexpected situation at the Mountain Manor, this motocross facility that has popped up. I'm also a Smithfield Township resident, and so I appreciate your efforts to create a noise or nuisance ordinance. I took the liberty myself of contacting the county just to make sure that there wasn't a model ordinance that's, that dealt with nuisance or noise. There's not. I then took the liberty of looking at all municipalities in the county to see how, some of our neighbors are handling these situations. There's 3 other standalone ordinances that I uncovered: Chestnut Hill, Poolbach, and Hamilton. The rest basically all handle noise in their zoning ordinance. As far as what you drafted, again, I think it's an important place to start. I did have questions about how you're going to determine what is excessive. In looking at these other ordinances, I would just note, based on the conversation about decibel levels, from what I found, 60 in the R1 is what seems to be commonplace. And for that, specifically, we would be looking at Poolbach, Jackson, Paradise.
How was it measured?
Polk. Some of these are very involved and they have, actually, there's formulas as to how you calculate it. I can just say, and I'm not an engineer or a mathematician, so I'm not exactly sure. Typically it's from, a boundary line, but, they're very involved, some of these. And so, I know just anecdotally, the experience that people have had with this motocross facility is, you can get these apps, and I suspect that they're somewhat reliable, that tell you decibel levels, and people are spiking at 80, 90 decibels next to this facility. So again, I appreciate your efforts. It's a good start, and we support it, and appreciate that you're taking seriously the many complaints that I'm sure you're hearing and that Ms. Wolf's been hearing as well in the zoning office.
One of the things I tried to keep it simple, but I know some of these ordinances are very complex, but we just said, okay, 60 decibel property, at least it's simple. The other part of it is to keep the hours simple. For instance, when you say 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., hopefully somebody runs a bar and remembers it, or 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for construction, rather than making it more complicated.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be unnecessarily complicated, but I appreciate, being a practicing attorney that, we'll find people will try to take advantage of any loose language or ambiguous language, and you don't want to be in that situation. And the final thing I would add is, there is some language in here about the zoning officer having discretion to petition the magistrate for injunctive relief, and I think I overheard your solicitor at the outset talk about that the district has a power, so that would be something that would need to be reviewed and.
As I said,
Just a conversation starter for that. I think it's, again, we give you kudos for that. And again, everybody appreciates that you're listening to the very real complaints of the people of the community. Thanks.
anyone who's listening can hear the issues.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm reading this over and I just have a question. I'm sorry, Tammy Booth. I just have a question, it was saying in this one specific thing that, 2 hours, after 2 hours of listening or something like that, then they would be on.
Motor noise went on for over 2 hours.
Okay, that I think we have to get more specific because they could take a 10-minute break and start up again. I just,
We should address that, you're right.
okay, I just want to be here today. This is from my front porch and we are really close. I haven't sent these in. This is on my front porch. And this is how of the people that come in. On weekends, it's twice the amount. Pardon me?
You might send it that video first.
Okay, certainly. So I'm real concerned about. They haven't been exactly, I mean, we've been trying to be neighborly backed up to them. They haven't been exactly honest. If you leave this open every 2 hours, I know they're gonna rest 10 minutes and go right back out.
You say cumulative 2 hours, so it's 2 hours. No matter what they do.
Cause they are running right now 6-hour days.
There is a difference between someone who has a dirt bike or a four-wheeler on their own property using it versus someone inviting 20 or 40 friends after they stop charging as a business and say, oh, well, I have this property, let's use this property for this purpose. So if you look at other townships and boroughs, I've found that they do actually kind of have verbiage where it says only so many people of an unrelated family and this and that, and I don't want to get too legal about it, but our fear is that even if the business at some point is shut down, what stops them from saying, oh, well, we're allowed to do this for 2 hours, we're gonna have 40 of our friends, because now we have all these petitions of these people who from the motocross community want to come. So I just think it's something that we need to consider, could be yeah,
It's a good point, Eric.
Sir, may I have your name?
Joe Vaughn.
I suggest we probably get together with a group of people. This is big and complicated. We've ran into it before, Robert. I guess you remember. We had a couple of episodes, and we had to call state police. But having said that, there's a lot of nuance in this type of an ordinance, and it wouldn't hurt for us to put together a group of people to get their concerns, their input, and then come up with a good, solid ordinance.
Right, I think.
That's suggested.
But Bob Goodwell, since he's researched some of this, might be able to supply an answer to what we do about the length of time on this.
Well, we did a lot of research on it, Robert, if you remember.
Too long ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I think
Okay.
as long as people take in some feedback. now.
John Tressler. Hey, listen, if you're still there, you were involved in some of it.
I'm still here, I'm having trouble installing that, Ryan, but try to refresh my memory.
It was up here by Frank Ricobono's house.
I don't think I was involved.
Well, I know Ken was called on several times. You couldn't enforce
Do you
it.
remember that one? Up by, what was the road? We had a lot of trouble with it. They, put something up there, daycare, not even a daycare, but, what was the road's name? Robert, you were on that road. You walked that road. You counted cars and
Sawmill?
you
Sawmill. It was
Yeah.
Sawmill, I think.
Is that where all the school buses were going up?
Oh, yeah, I was up there, but I don't think it related to the noise.
well, before that, there was a noise ordinance. There was a,
Nightclub.
I guess, yeah, it was a club, right? And it blasted music all night. And we finally won, but we got into decibels and ugly stuff. And I thought, John, you were part of that, no?
I was asked, it's starting to come back to me, I think they were using some buses and stuff to get up there, and I was asked to evaluate the roadway, which wasn't designed for that type of traffic. That's how I got involved, but
Yeah.
I wasn't
Okay,
involved
all right.
with that.
Well, anyway, I guess, there's a lot to this ordinance, and Ron, you can certainly, verify that. I don't think it's something we just write. Let's get some people involved. There's neighbors, there's other people in the community, and we've done it all along. Have one or two meetings, come away with it. Invite Ron, John, if they like, to be at that meeting, and then we go from there. We write our ordinance. But we don't write the ordinance, just you, Robert, you don't write that ordinance. I don't write that ordinance, we write it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I can only suggest, but I feel, Brian, that we ought to put a time limit on this. You should fast track it because these people hear this day in and day out. Maybe we say, let's get any comments, let's meet if we want to, but I would hope maybe, let's say within a month, we could have an ordinance ready to bring to a vote. I think that's reasonable.
I have a
Not
question.
difficult.
What is the property zone?
What?
What is the property zone?
R1.
Well, and how can you run a business in an R1 zone?
Yeah, it's illegal, and we cited them on that.
Well, I mean, that's the easiest way to do it instead of
I
the
know it
sound.
doesn't stop them, that's the problem.
Well, the sound isn't gonna do it
If
either,
they
probably.
decide to go to court, they'll be doing it till probably next April or May. That's why we need something that's outside of the zoning ordinance where we can enforce it pretty much immediately. And I think.
It may be after the fact though, Robert. They're already in operation. And this fellow, they may be grandfathered. So we gotta,
They may be.
we gotta do something quick and efficient so that we don't hang you out down in Harrisburg.
Are they grandfathered over?
No, there's no grand.
It doesn't say recreation and
No, it would have
not,
to
so
say-
that factor
It's
is.
approved. There's virtually nothing that you can do with land that you can just go do. You would have to have a formal approval, and they don't have it for that.
Well, just stop them right there.
But we've already started the enforcement notice, but we can't unilaterally do it. We have to. You know, they have to have their notice, which was given, and that takes 30 days, and then they can appeal. So,
If they had any interest in complying, they would have done it because they continued. So they're obviously. gonna
They've
go through the
expanded
process.
too. They've expanded further on down behind us.
Oh, yeah, well, the only thing I can really think of is if we can put this on some fast track where everybody gives their comments, where Ron drafts a resolution or an ordinance, and we discuss it and bring it up for hearing and pass it. At least then, we can cite them every day. Every day, we can say, okay, it's another $100, or maybe Thursday is 100, next day is 200, 300. We can do anything like that to try to put them out of
it's
business.
similar to our nuisance alarm ordinance, which we have now, because there are some places that have excessive fire alarms because they're negligent in maintaining their internal fire apparatus. So we've been citing them, you know, on a monthly basis with working with the fire company. So it's more or less.
Is that working? May I ask you?
Yes.
Okay, I just wondered if.
Unfortunately, one of the issues might no longer exist, but we'll see how that goes.
Good question, Michael Albert. If they do not comply, but they also don't appeal, what can you do after those 30 days?
And
Can you call law enforcement if they haven't?
The way it works is that they do not appeal the decision or appeal the enforcement notice, it becomes conclusively presumed that they are in violation. And the township can begin citation proceedings against them, or even injunction proceedings to have them abate the nuisance.
That could occur now if the township would want to spend that money. And the citizens can do it if they want to spend that money. They can file their own injunction complaint against them as a private nuisance if they want to. So that can happen now, but getting to your question, if that's an unappealed decision, it's a conclusive presumption that they're in violation and proceedings can begin.
And if the township decided not to pursue an injunction at that time, private citizens could, because there's proof that.
I think private citizens always can. You know, with respect to that, and again, there are various questions that you would ask, there's sort of a pecking order that you would go down, and you know, how many individuals are affected, and what areas are affected, what's the area of the neighborhood like? Is it residential, is it commercial, is it mixed, and how many people are affected, how many homes are affected? Well, how are they affected? You can't hear each other talk on the porch, or you can't use your porch, or you can't listen to your TV, or you can't enjoy outside, so there's a number of questions that would have to be reviewed in order to support that, because there is no black and white. Say this is a private nuisance or this is a public nuisance. It's really a fact finding and fact specific decision to be made.
The thought here with the enforcement notice is obviously to reach that conclusive presumption, but also one shot at good faith, you know, two, we'll step in at that point. There's no reason to let it go to ends. But we also want the ordinance that has the teeth to do that. This is just the starting point from that.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to have the enforcement with the supervisors. No, we don't even have the zoning officer present at these meetings. We have a question for him. It's got to go to him the next day by you, and then it's 2 weeks before the next meeting that we get an answer.
What was the question? Because I did go over this whole thing with the zoning officer.
Yes, that's why I'd like to see the enforcement be by our supervisors.
Well,
So we're not going back and forth. 2 weeks later, we hear something, now we got another question. Okay, I'll take it to the zoning officer tomorrow. 2 weeks later, we get an answer on that. But I know we have the zoning officer present at these meetings.
he's, if we require him, he will come, but, his work schedule with another job.
This is his main job, right?
It's
Okay, that's what's important to the township.
Correct. The key with that is they're not gonna be required every meeting when there's like a zoning inquiry specifically, like something that we have on the agenda where we know we're going to request them. You know, we've done that many
You
times.
know, we were going to that tonight. Why is it here?
That's why I went
The
over.
thought was that this is a discussion on what we would propose, not necessarily what's existing now. Because at the end of the day, the zoning officer is, you know, an independent official, we can request investigations and we have, which is why this action has taken place with regard to.
Well, that's why I'm suggesting it's a good idea to have it in the hands of the supervisors who can make a decision at the meeting.
Well,
And move
remember,
forward.
if we have an ordinance that is outside of the zoning ordinance, okay, which is in another chapter. We have much more flexibility in taking a stand on that, whereas if it isn't zoning. The zoning officer doesn't work for us, he works for the zoning hearing board. So, that's set up so that there's some independence on what his call is on different things that, we have to abide by what he says because we're not part of it. It's, you know, it's checks and balances. And by the way, just an interesting aside, originally I had in here a section about barking dogs. But when I talked to our zoning officer, he said, we already have that. I wasn't even aware of it. We do. We have a nuisance ordinance against barking dogs. I think they're barking more than a half hour.
Plus, that's state law with Libre law, so. And there's a county dog warden, but that's what deals with that.
Well, who's gonna bring Ken out on the weekend or night to verify what's going on?
The idea is there's more flexibility here. It's not necessarily to, you know, give one individual even more. It's more like to create flexible paths for multifaceted
I
enforcement.
still think shut them down zoning wise. By the time you go through all this, you're gonna be months away.
Go through all what?
By the time you sit down and write your ordinance and then try to enforce it.
Well, we've already pursued that action on the zoning end as it exists now.
Well,
This is
keep
for
it
other.
that.
Oh, we are, but this is to have more tools to enforce aside from zoning, because it's not necessarily just. Zoning, this could happen in any zone, it's not necessarily relegated to, particular uses. So much as this is generally applicable to anything.
Well, how do you verify what is too much noise? I mean, who,
Are you
you have to have
saying
a
you're against
professional?
another ordinance on nuisance noise?
Pardon?
Are you saying you're against this ordinance on?
No,
nuisance
I'm
noise?
not, but how are you gonna enforce it? How are you gonna determine
Well,
how high it is?
we've just said we're going to determine it
Research.
sometimes on decibel levels, sometimes with complaints, right? And I also think that if it's a complaint, it doesn't have to just go to the zoning officer, it can go to one of us. And as long as we talk to whoever is complaining and are convinced that it's a legitimate complaint, we can say that that's the basis for zoning officer, the code enforcement zoning officer, issuing a citation. We're like the witness to. Do it.
So let me get this straight, because I mean, they do it weekdays, only one weekday week. Weekends are held at my house.
I understand.
I mean, okay, so what happens if I hear them? I have to call one of you guys and as a witness, or
Well,
I have to wait and complain?
if you're calling me, I would say, did you record it, just like you did? And if you did, I listen to that and I say, yeah, this is a legitimate complaint, as long as I'm saying it's legitimate. I've heard it, somebody.
Okay, so you don't have to be there physically?
No,
Okay,
I trust you in this, you know. And it's my word saying, or Jacob's fortunately saying, yeah, this is a legitimate complaint, Ken. I'm the complainant here with the citizen, and I'm saying, cite this guy.
And we're still researching that end of it, but there's multiple ways to enforce it. I mean, the same way that, in Stratford, there's a parking enforcement officer. There's different ways to do this than necessarily one person. So that's the problem.
I'm just thinking it's weekends, but what do we do then? I mean, I know the first weekend took us by, all of us by surprise, and we were like waiting Monday morning to just
Going on today,
call.
tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And those guys were with three neighbors, we're right there behind them, and it's loud. It's nauseous, it goes on for hours, not 2 hours, it goes all day long. You would have left my house today, before 6 o'clock, and you're still around the bikes, they're loud. And food, fill up the bed, I live on Taylor Drive.
Can you spell your last name?
And DEMEGLIO. And there, you look over his yard, 20 feet, and there's the bikes. And his is so loud, it's nauseous. You have to talk loud to talk to when you're outside of this house, talking to each other. It is loud. And we're the closest ones to it.
Well, I wish we could shut them down yesterday, right? What we're trying to do here is say, let's pass an ordinance so that when this comes up, we can do it. And why I'm saying I'd like to see it done quickly is because there is a problem here.
You have to come here and listen to it.
And by the way, it's not just the motorcycle noise. There are complaints about loud music. That's outdoor music. And that's just as much as an irritant if somebody's blasting music from a bar at 11 o'clock at midnight. We want to do something about that too. It just seems like it's come to the point where it's time to do this, and I'd like to see it done fairly quickly.
Yeah, we're having enough of it, it's too loud.
Hold on a second, I'm just gonna, Mr. Schwartz.
Oh, man. I just want to address the issue of noise in general, that I see this as a cultural problem. I mean, we're gonna have loud music and dirt bikes all over, but people believe that they have a right to make a noise, and they don't care about their neighbors. I think what had happened in the past 50 years with smoking, you don't see people smoke anymore because they're made aware that it's bad for them. But we also have to make aware that noise is bad for not only people, but for the animals, for pets, and just in general, it makes life so much more pleasant. And if we could get, I see advertisements, that, I don't know, governments pay for, be a good father, Get an education, all this stuff. But if we could somehow wrangle some money for advertisements of be quiet, don't, be considerate with noise, turn it down. That may help a lot, because I know, Lynn took, a lot of time for, this petition. A lot of people complain about noise, but they don't do anything, because, they don't wanna be a bad guy. So, it's, if we take a little time, and it's nice to talk about decibels and all that kind of stuff, but the power of people will shut this down a lot. So, I would suggest that there's some, we can get money for that. I will say this.
Well, listen, Jacob, why don't we send Ken up there this weekend as a zoning officer? All right, he walks in, he talks to whoever, and the worst case scenario, he tells them you should get in touch with the supervisors. We invite them in, sit them down, and tell them what we do and what we're going to do by ordinance, and work with us.
Brian, I've
Now-
already been up. I've already been up
What?
there.
Yeah, me. So what? What you do?
I went down to, the people who.
You're on one of those bikes.
No, I went down and I spoke to them, and I told them this is illegal. You're gonna be cited for this. You should stop this immediately. And I said that to, two principals who are running this thing.
Yep.
They did nothing. Then Ken, talked to them and cited them. So that's been done. That these people are just resisting, and if they want to do that, we have to
Well,
fight.
did you meet with them? You met with them then?
I did. I met with the neighbors, and then I met with the people who were causing the noise.
Let's send Ken up there with his badge and lay the law down. You're gonna meet with the supervisors, and even though we may not have the authority to do it, he can lay the groundwork. His presence. We want to meet with him. No ifs, ands, or buts. Just within next week.
Right. In the case of these motorcycles, it's gone beyond that. He's already done that. And
Who
they
has?
just can't. They refuse
Who?
to stop.
Can I explain something?
Go ahead.
You take 2 steps off of our property and you're on one of their tracks. They started this in April. They're gonna fight the whole way. They came and said to us, we're going to make a small track for our sons for their 4-wheeler. We were okay with that. I'd rather kids do that than go out. Then all hell broke loose and they expanded, and it was, they lied to us.
They did. And
They are going to fight this the whole day. You have had Kenneth there, you have had Robert there. Have they been to, they're not at these meetings. I even told them when the meetings are.
They're
They are
they're
going to
posting
fight it.
pictures of the neighbors with a 5-year-old giving the finger, calling us
Oh
Karens.
my gosh.
I'm also
Sharing that publicly, so that's how they feel of
Is
their
that
neighbors.
still up? Did you send that?
I have it in a,
I've
I
also
don't know if it's still up because they have black meetings.
also witnessed a charging commission, so it's not about friends. It's a business.
I
Well,
confront
let me
them
just say, I would like to personally meet with them. If you guys don't mind, I'll set a meeting up for next week to get them in.
Well, I for one.
No, we gotta lay the law down. We gotta get in their face. They're not gonna listen to you. Apparently they didn't. And apparently they're not listening to Ken. Enough is enough. We have an ordinance. It's an ordinance, and maybe we could fall back on that originally, while we make write a better ordinance. But I'm saying, these people can't stand it. We got a weekend coming up. They can't sit on our porches, and we're talking about it. Let's not talk, let's do.
Well,
Of course, it's easy for me to say.
These people are.
Hold on, let the solicitor say.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what Ron has to say.
Thank you.
What I have to say is not gonna make people happy, and that is that this ordinance has to be very tight.
Yep.
Especially if what I'm hearing is that these people will appeal. You need to have a decibel level, you need to have an approved noise meter, you need to know where you're gonna be taking these measurements, or are they from their property line? You need to make sure that there's other individuals there, and you also need to make certain that the ordinance has proper provisions in it for protection. I'm a solicitor member of Mount Bethel Township. I've been there since 1998. So do the math. It's over 25 years that I've been there. And they have a noise ordinance that's 16 pages long. They've enforced it once in 26 years.
So Ron,
Because it is so difficult to have the courts say, what do you want us to do with that? You can hear noise a million miles away. It travels 757 miles an hour, or whatever it is. It becomes very difficult, so it has to be very tight.
so when,
And I think Brian's idea about talking with the people might have been okay before this enforcement notice was filed. But now that you have the township filing an enforcement notice against them, I would not talk to them because they can say that now he's trying to support perjury. So I would not have him talk to anybody. Now you let that train left the station, let it complete. Do a standalone ordinance. I think that's a good idea, so you don't have to fool around with the ordinance one, but it's gonna have to be very tight, and it may not be as easy and simple as we would like. It may have to be a little bit convoluted with respect to provisions.
so when we hit
That
them,
doesn't mean it can't be done.
yeah, but then we hit them with the zoning ordinance. Because now we don't get it.
Now, that's what they're being.
But I think that's their only hope.
That's what we're doing, okay.
Right now, that's what's happening. Ken filed a notice saying you can't run a business. They've been cited. Now they either appeal that and have a hearing before the zoning board, or if they let it go and don't appeal, it's conclusively presumed that.
So that's our best bet.
So how do we get this decimal thing? Like, I know neighbors have been on our property and it's gone up to 80 on our property. Is there a specific one that you need to?
That would be in this developing ordinance, it's not something that we're like.
It's some number you want. Your attorney could well say that some of the other standalone ordinances are at 60. I'm not enough of a noise person to know whether that's good or bad. 6 kids in my house, the noise level is astronomical. So I don't know about all that, but you need a decimal number and you need someone who is skilled in using a decimal reader. I don't think you could just get someone to say, oh, I have my iPhone here and I'm gonna
Right.
read the decimal. You gotta have a noise expert
It's recorded.
in order to have that
Okay,
person.
environmental protection, what the level is and everything. So how do we get
You need a professional.
good
what do you
reading?
say?
You have to hire someone?
No,
There's a lot, and that's 10 hours
no,
a day.
current. Doing it now will not benefit what is already existing because there's not a current provision for that, so that's what we're attempting to do. So that's the direction.
And this start by Robert is a
He's
good
saying
start.
put it in a noise
You know,
ordinance.
it's a good start with respect to that.
In the
And
noise ordinance, so it can't go further, that's what he's saying.
Right, and that's what we're discussing right now, so we don't know the exact number, we're going to continue some comparisons, going to get some information from Attorney Kidwell from the stuff that he's already
I
compiled.
can send you a site on the, I have it up. US Environmental Protection Agency, they have a whole thing on decimal things and what level can you cause.
Sure, we're certainly gonna look at federal, in a
E-
sense.
They were up there. But EPA was up there through our Royal County, and we didn't get a report back, or I didn't hear it back, anything. You guys, did you hear anything, Jacob? Yeah, but you know, they were there.
Conservation district is there, right? I haven't seen any report, if you look at it.
There's one last comment from.
Hi, thanks. So two sides. First, the main issue at hand, because this will take some time. We know that. I agree 100%. We should put this forward. What is the end of their, my understanding, the law says you cite them, they have 30 days to comply or appeal, correct? That's the law? When does their 30 days expire?
Whatever the notice says, I haven't seen a notice.
Do you know when the notice was?
The notice may say you have 15 days to comply. If you don't comply, you have 30 days to file an appeal. I mean, without seeing the notice, I can't give you the deadline, but it would not be any more than 30 days.
Michael, I don't have the notice in front of me, but I believe Ken told me he filed it on the Friday after our last board meeting, which I believe would have been the 15th. Please don't hold me to that, but around that.
They're looking around the 14th. Are the Board of Supervisors willing, either at this meeting or at the next meeting, even before that time, to state that if they do not appeal and if they do not comply, that you will put an injunction immediately as at the end of those 30 days? Because that takes a process as well, right? Just to move it faster.
That is correct, so if they don't appeal that, and then we're able to file the petition, the citation through district court, correct, Ron?
Yes.
Do you have to make a decision here?
You could also do an injunction if you want to.
I mean, I would prefer, I think that's the easiest way to speed it out.
I'm just wondering if you want, I mean, if you're looking at another 2 weeks, just in terms of time frame, maybe look at it, if you can make that decision even before it happens. It sounds like they're not showing up to meetings, they probably won't comply, just to speed that up. And then my point on this, I don't know, some people will be upset at this, but while you're looking at noise, fireworks, especially at 1 in the morning, are not mentioned here. Talk about animals and pets, dogs go crazy.
Maybe Bob Kimball can give us the benefit of his research, because he seems to have looked into some of these other townships that have ordinances like this, would help.
And lastly, this would usually go to the planning commission as well. No, normally the ordinances do.
Well, if it's zoning related, so if you have this independent zoning, potentially, sure. I think
It'd be
the
great to
input
get
would
a
be
draft.
valuable.
It'd be great if there was a way to get a draft by the next planning commission meeting. That way you could have it done within a month potentially.
Yeah. I'm also.
Can I say something? We've been talking about this for an hour. Let's hold a meeting and in the same hour have people come in, sit down, and we'll discuss it. And I want to meet these people that you talk to, Robert, and I want them to know what we intend on doing. And sooner or later, goddammit, we'll get it done. All right?
A lot of the people who are concerned about this are in this room right now.
And I'm calling them in. Robert, all right, I'm calling them in. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to tell them what we're going to do, where the shit hits the fan, excuse me, and the repercussions and what they may have to deal with if they're not cooperative at all, and whatever that means. Well, let's talk to the people around it. Can they live with a daytime operation? I don't know.
But whatever you'd like to do, be my guest. My feeling is, I'd like to see this ordinance, some form of it.
I'm gonna have Kim with me,
Quickly,
and I'm
because
gonna call them in. Do you have contact info for them?
these people need relief.
Yeah.
All right.
Could you share it with me, Robert?
Sure. I'll give you the owner of the land and the principals.
Two gentlemen you talk to.
All
right.
But Brian, you have internet, I heard you have nothing up there yet.
Oh, we do, we got it the
Yeah,
other day.
We just got it. Yeah, 3 weeks. It was heaven.
By tomorrow.
Okay, two more
right.
things, board. Solicitor has something to say, and Mr. Seeger.
I would make certain that the board, as a board, doesn't approve of Brian's action. If he wants to do it on his own,
He shouldn't do it.
he can do that, but I don't believe he should do it because you have proceedings filed already. Or, you got township proceedings filed. Proceedings haven't been filed yet, I think it's an.
Well, wait a minute, that's bullshit. Robert has met with them and talked to them.
Brian.
All I'm saying is I'd like to call them in and talk to them. I'm a supervisor still.
You do whatever you think you wanna do.
Well, wait a minute, Robert did this
No, Brian, turn it off.
thing.
Turn it off.
But he did that before the zoning violation was filed. Now you have a zoning violation filed. It's like going to court and suing someone and then saying, I'm gonna go meet with you at your house, we're gonna talk about your case without lawyers, without the judge or whatever. I just don't think that's a good idea. They may say that you said something goofy and now we have a problem because it's he said, she said, but you are a supervisor, you know a lot more about this than I do, and you know a lot more about the township and its citizens. If that's what you want to do, you go right ahead. All I'm saying is, I'm not on board. That's all.
What are you saying?
Never mind.
Right.
I'm not on board with it, but you can do what you think you need to do based upon your experience, your training, your education, and your background.
Okay, I thank you for that.
You feel better.
Bye.
So what we gotta do is act quickly. Yes,
Stop it.
We are, okay, Mr. Seaver, go.
Yes, hi, my name is Curtis
what was
Sebring.
that?
I'm Curtis Sebring, Brian, you know me.
God, yeah, Kurt, how are you?
Great. I have a couple of questions. Can you clarify something for me? I thought Pam had an excellent point about the zoning portion of it. And you shot him down just on the zoning portion of it,
Yes.
That's what we've intended to do.
but it's gonna take us 60 days, is that or roughly? Or
It takes as long as it would take either to go through the zoning hearing board and then cite them and take it to court.
I see, it has to go to the court.
Doesn't go to zone. But remember, we have to go to court for really, that takes a long time. We have to get on a court calendar. And
Okay,
I know just with the magistrate, sometimes it can take 5 or 6 months. I don't know what it is.
so what you're saying, if I can clarify, if you would please, so eventually you have an avenue where, in other words, this will be shut down.
Right, that's what we pursued.
It will definitely be shut down. It can take some time, but we all see some relief in sight, right? Okay, that's great to know. Just out of curiosity, do you have any experience with previous noise complaints? For instance, the airport with a parachute airplane, but we finally got rid of that.
We
That was
complain all the time.
And, now we have this to deal with. It's
Well, it's
like,
not only this, we have, a music problem. to
Music
deal
from
with, too,
bars.
yeah,
which is just as bad or worse.
okay,
And this, having an ordinance like this would allow us to immediately deal with that rather than going on and trying to. Well, even under the zoning ordinance, you can't do something about that.
yeah,
But it's music, it's not, the zoning ordinance works because in this case, it's a residential district where you cannot have a business. Okay, in the other case, it's in the commercial EV zone where you can have a business. So again, we can't shut them down under the zoning ordinance. We don't have any noise ordinance where we can impose limits of saying, you must stop amplified music by 10 o'clock at night. We don't have that.
yeah. But I thought you did say you can eventually shut them down for zoning.
No, because
Yes,
in the music case, they're not in the
This specific case, right?
what?
He's talking specifically about.
Of the motorcycles.
Yes.
The fact that he's operating in an R1.
If he wants to go on, I would say, maybe what, 6 or 8 months, Ron, what would you say? Getting to the courts,
I would say to you that assuming that there is a zoning hearing, in other words, he appeals the enforcement notice and says, I'm not doing anything wrong. The zoning hearing board meets, I believe, once a month, if I'm not mistaken. That would be heard in relatively short order. There is some advertising drag that's required. But let's say you have that hearing within 45 days, and let's assume the zoning board says that he's in violation and he is wrong.
he may still want to appeal that decision to county court, which is a right to do. But I would tell the township, if you have the zoning board saying that he's in violation, then we couple that, when I say the township, with a complaint for injunction with county court, and then the county court will have both matters if in fact he appeals. The only problem with that is, judges sometimes want to try to make things a little easy on themselves, and then they say, okay, we're not gonna do anything with this injunction until I first see whether or not he's in violation of the zoning ordinance. Because if he's not in violation of the zoning ordinance, then we have to go to the old method of whether or not he's in, whether he's committed a nuisance, and then we have to have witnesses come in, the neighbors have to come in. The last time I did this is Northampton County, it was a dog and pony show, there were 20 people coming into court that had to testify about what they heard, what they did. Took a long time, and we eventually won, but that's what has to be done. We just can't go there and say, we win because we think we should win. We've got to be able to prove our case.
Robert, Jacob, I wish you would listen to Ron, because it's not an easy thing. I know Robert, you like to break easy things up, but he's got the way to do it. It's zoning. You're just, by the time you sit around here and do this noise ordinance, you're gonna be months away.
Yeah, these people are having this noise
I
day
know
in and day out, but you're saying to them, according to what's wrong, this could go on for months and months and months.
Robert, I called you one time about music from Shawnee Valley, and you laughed at me, told me I couldn't do anything about it.
Hold on. To be clear, we are pursuing shutting this down now. We are also separately pursuing an ordinance that allows for more teeth to more readily enforce this, should it be an issue in the future. This ordinance will likely not be in effect before an injunction, would be pursued.
What I would say to you to try to move the ordinance thing along
Yes.
is,
Yeah.
I think Mr. Albert has good ideas about fireworks and other things. Don't do that now, just deal with the noise from this motocross track place, just deal with that. Get an ordinance in place, and then you always can go back and look at it again if you want to deal with loud music. Well, loud speech, not so much, you got First Amendment problems there. You go back there for fireworks and all the other
I
stuff.
think we have to deal with music too, because the complaints from music.
Okay, well then, music and the motocross, okay, but I don't know if I'd add other stuff, because then you start. Just
Just to be very, very clear, just to be explicit. There are two separate issues. They are related, but they are not the same. We're already pursuing shutting this down under the zoning ordinance. We are also considering an ordinance separate from the zoning ordinance to deal with nuisances generally. So considering this ordinance will not affect what is already underway in terms of enforcing this illegal business. That's it.
I would like to say something that, I don't want to go against anyone or Brian Barrett or anything, but I think if we had, you as board or anyone would have a meeting with this company about this, and want to sit down and talk about it, a lot of times the results end up in a compromise. Well, let's operate a little bit this day or that day. I think we're all in agreement. We just want to shut down completely because it's just too bothersome.
And it's illegal.
Yeah, okay. But just one quick final question, at the end of this, it's not related to what we're talking about right now. Are you gonna have an open forum where I can ask another question about something unrelated to that?
Anytime, even now.
Okay,
Now, after, whatever works.
okay, well, I hate to interrupt this stuff, but Airport Road. It was really bad, getting bad and stuff. Now the bottom of it's being torn up. Are there any plans in the future of repaving that?
Airstrip or
No, not airstrip, airport.
Yes.
I don't know if we tore it up.
No, you're talking.
Yeah, the bottom of it is, it's being part of it being torn up now. So obviously it's gonna be.
That's airstrip, but when it runs along the parallel to the runway.
No, that's airstrip. I'm talking about Airport Road
What are we carrying about airport?
from 209 to Airstrip Drive.
From where Bygone's connecting to Airstrip Road, they have to go up Airport Road to go down Airstrip Road.
So initially, it was just an upper part of Airport Road that was bad. And I spoke to Mr. McCormick about repaving that, and he had planned on doing that one with our own equipment or with Smithfield, their middle Smithfield Township, right, with their assistance. But now that the bottom part is getting torn up, I'm just wondering if there's any plans in the future of getting that.
Torn up because of the traffic, the trucks, I mean.
Well, no, they're tearing it up, putting these the water and gas lines in.
Yes, that whole road, that will be.
There are
Correct.
plans in the
Correct,
near
That-
future. to have
that's, so
that.
the part, the reason it's being done concurrently is so we can have a fresh.
Okay, great.
And
That's great
Yeah,
news.
if I can step in. So right now they're working and they're tearing up the road. Once they put those pipes in, it has to settle and they have to maintain the full patch while everything underneath it settles.
Yeah, I understand that.
Once all of that work is done, our main concern here is that we want to avoid paving the road so it's nice and convenient to ride over.
Yeah.
And then having somebody 3 months later go in and rip it all up over
Sure.
again. So our plan right now, and Ed's plan when he had talked to it, and since he was talking to Chris, is to let them do the water line and the gas line. Finish everything, all of the connections over there,
Mhm.
and then we'll pave it once and it'll be beautiful the
Right,
next day.
yeah.
That's
Great.
the plan.
I just like to bring one other quick point up, that Kings Pond Road was done, and then after it was paved, it was determined that there was a pipe that was being, it was deteriorated, so it had to be, you guys just replaced it. They did a beautiful job, by the way, but I hope you consider that before repaving a road, that's kind of work would have to be done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For this paving season.
We are too close to the end of our
Yeah.
paving season, this,
Yeah.
we're looking at having this happen next year, they're still, right now in the process of installing the water and getting
Oh,
gas.
that's great. Yeah, next year would be,
So it's gonna be, as you're,
We can only pay by the end of October, then.
yeah,
paving
it shuts down. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, all right, I think we have a good framework to continue this, so the hope is very soon we'll have more information, be able to present it, and then hopefully we'll also have more information on the zoning enforcement for the current issue. So next we will discuss a resolution for community investment. Robert wanted to put this on the agenda. We alluded to it earlier when we had two roughly equal quotes for the tree trim.
Yeah, I feel we should have a resolution, which is really just underscoring our commitment of saying that when we get quotes on some job that has to be done in the township, or maybe even when we get bids and they're equal and the contractors are equal, I think we should always give precedence to residents of Smithfield Township. That's all.
Amen. Amen.
That effect, of course, will probably be only for under the bid threshold, because at that point, we can't say someone's not responsible because they don't live here. Am I correct in that, Ron?
When you say they're not responsible, I'm not sure.
No, what I'm saying is this would have to apply basically only to things that are under the bid threshold.
Yeah,
Because you can't say someone's not responsible because they don't live in it.
No, you have to, anything over the bidding threshold, it has to be bid. Unless it's an exception, for example, professional services or things like that, so.
Right.
This would be under the bidding threshold. Again, remember, there's two types, the one on the very bottom line, the very initial amount where you don't have to get any quotes, and then between a certain number of the bidding threshold, when you get 3 quotes, that you can get.
No.
Good.
The air conditioning, I think.
Almost died, we didn't want to lose our friends on Zoom. Okay, all right, that was relatively simple. Next, we had a discussion that we were trying to have last month. With regard to refreshments at Waterfront Park, I don't know if they needed.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Thank you for joining us. Just to preface with everybody, we're hearing someone out who made an offer to try to do refreshments in the park. We want to hear what you
Yes, my name is Vivian Oliver. I live in Middle Smithfield, 5 Marshall Street. I'm grandma of 12 grandchildren. I just retired about a year ago. I am very involved in my children's activity and sportsmen. And I've noticed that when my grandkids are done for practice or games, they come home starving. They wait in the refrigerator, they're hungry, they want us to stop at McDonald's, the whole thing just goes crazy after. I know there's a lot of individuals that are single parents, like my daughter, and she works as a phlebotomist. And she has 5 children and she's running around with them and I'm running around with them, and she goes to school at night. And so I asked my daughter, and I've often been to these parks, where's the refreshments for these children? Where is the snacks? Where is some kind of food for them in order for them to stay hydrated and healthy? And I seen the vision and I was very concerned. And I'm like, this is a little weird. So anyway, I wanted to buy a food trailer. I thought I could do it with an RV, a RV. That didn't work out because it's regulations. So now I'm on my way to buy a food trailer. But then I wanted to take baby steps. I've never owned a business before, so I'm like, you know what? Let me start calling the townships and see what I could do to help the community with these parents that, because they come out of work, they pick up the kids, they go to practice, or to their games, and then they take them back home. They're exhausted, they're dehydrated. Some of these kids we heard, they fall out in the middle of the park because they don't have water, vitamin water, Gatorade, peanuts, a banana, an apple. So I'm like, I didn't get too far with Smithfield, but I talked to Robert, and I thank you for inviting me here. And I want to make a difference to the community. These parents, they don't have time to stop and get something for the kids before practice. And these kids are crying, they're hungry, you know, parents are. And I just want to be able to help wherever I can. I'm willing to set up a concession stand, start off very slow, set up some peanuts, some apples, some bananas, some drinks, maybe some packaged peanut butter and jelly. Everything is going to be packaged, nothing made. In the near future, I would love to have a food trailer where I can, well, my company is already on this go, named Soplito on Wheels, where I'm able to at least, even if parents come tired, running to the park, hungry, you know, have a little something to eat, and I'm willing to cook on the truck, do it the right way. So this is my concern. I don't know how anyone else feels about it. I feel that it's very important that these kids get the nutrition that they need. Like I said before, some of these single parents come right out of work and take these kids to practice and games and not eating and not drinking. Kids are crying, waiting for their brothers or sisters to finish their practices. And I just want to try to help the community out. I'm not trying to make $1 million. I just want to be able to be there to give them some kind of snack, or whatever I can do to help. This is what this is all about. It's
Let
not
me speak to that a bit, because I know that when kids get out of school in the afternoon, they're hungry.
Of course.
And I know it, for instance, with the soccer games, we do have the soccer group running their own concession stand, but at the waterfront park, we don't have anything. And we've got, well, we actually, I should say, when they have a little league game, they have a little concession stand, but for soccer, there's nothing for kids playing there. And it seems like it would be very beneficial to have somebody who's there, just, let's say, mirroring what happens with the soccer club at Ministate, like a place where you could buy something or.
Yes, I mean, I just feel that, like I stated, like, I only seen this vision. I worked for 32 years in the Superior Courthouse in Jersey. And since I retired, I've been very involved with my grandkids, most of them all here. And I'm like, where's the water? Where's the Gatorade? Where's the banana? Where's the apple? Where's the peanuts? Maybe a bag of chips, maybe peanut butter and jelly even packaged already that you could buy for these kids. And you said to the parent that's going to give them dinner. Because these kids are crying, even the adults are like fidgety and they're hungry, and some of them are running in the car and going to the gas station to get something to eat to go back to the park. It's crazy. I'm like, it's gotta be a simple way where at least these kids have something. We hear so many things on the news that these kids are passing out in the middle of the field, they're dehydrated, they're having a heart attack. And I'm pretty sure the adults are probably tired, coming out of work, dealing with the same thing. My dream is to own a food trailer. and go around and feed the community if I can. I don't want to be rich. I just want to be able to keep our community healthy and safe. So I'm just asking for,
Well, I can say for myself, I think we should encourage an idea like this. Doesn't sound like you're at the point of telling us exactly what you're gonna do or how you're gonna do it. I would think that there's nothing but benefits. The only thing I ask is, don't serve Nutella sandwiches. I've seen enough of those.
yeah, even like eventually maybe hot dogs, something for them at least to have before they go home, before dinner. Because like I stated, when my grandkids come home from practice, sometimes they come to grandma's house. They're reading my refrigerator, they're in the cabinet, they turn everything up. Grandma, I'm hungry, I'm like, what's going on? You know, it's just,
Can I
it's something, these kids should have something.
Yeah, no, it's totally admirable. Before we get further, it'd be good to connect you with FC Pope. Did your grandchildren play soccer by chance? Is that what?
They play football, track, and basketball.
Alright, well, let's connect you. We can connect with FC Pope and at least preliminarily talk about how it might interact and whatnot, because there's a whole host of stuff we would have to do on our end if we were to, you know, keep
Okay.
going. But I think at minimum, to connect you with the organizational leaders and see, you know, what they see as the needs and, you know, how it could be complemented since they're using the field the most, and things like that.
Yeah, even some of the places like you stated, Robert, had concession stands. But sometimes these practices last until 8 o'clock at night. These concession stands in these areas close at 6. So by the time you get there, and your kids are practicing from 6 to 8. There's nothing for these kids, not even, like some of these coaches do bring water. But when they go down those fields, they are starving. And they're very hungry.
Well, I think all we can say is, unlike Middlesbrough, we're encouraging.
Thank you, I really appreciate it.
But I think you need to realize that I've been at years have had this. Usually a parent is given the choice of bringing drinks and bringing food for the whole team.
Yes, but they don't do that when I'm going to these places, and I find it a little weird, I do see some coaches bringing cases of water. But like I said, most of these people are parents that are working, and they're getting out of work and they're going straight to get their children from after school programs or whatever's going on at, when they get out of work, shoot into the park. Barely have time to pick anything up for these kids to eat, even the adults don't have anything to eat. I'm just trying to make a little difference for us in the community.
We appreciate it, and we'll certainly connect you with that. And thank you for.
Thank you.
Just to bridge this, the swimming at Marshall's Falls that we talked about last time, our insurance carrier said, no, there's no way. And I thought that, but that's where that's at, our carrier wouldn't, you know, fulfill the claim. And there's more risk than just even swimming. It's like if somebody swims, you know, and then a tree falls on them, that's still not gonna be good either. So it's best just not to permit it. If someone does it against it, then it's not gonna be our liability. You do that, you bring that upon yourself, but don't do it. That's what Brown said is selective and whatnot. We got that extensively. So pretty much no matter what the signs say, no.
Well, I guess shot sign shouldn't even mention, say those swimming. That's all we would say.
Correct. Any supervisors, anything they wanted to note? Nothing from Robert. I think I've had a lot of fun tonight. Brian, anything that you wanted to note?
No.
Our bills are $215,717.90, 91,000 of which is reimbursable for the grant Marshall's Falls. The rest of it is utilities and regular operations, trash, that type of thing, and insurance, 2 payments on insurance. Do I hear a motion on the bills?
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Motion by Mr. Levenheim. Do I hear a
Second.
second? Second, Mr. Barrett, question? All in favor?
Aye.
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 How about a motion from here?
Any public comments before we entertain a motion to adjourn? Okay, okay.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, motion by Ms. Levenheim, second by myself, all in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Adjourned at
Good night and thank you.
Night.
Hey, Robert. Robert.
Yes, sir.
Robert.